In this video, we're going to learn about how the blood circulates from the heart through the arteries, the capillaries and the veins and then returns to the heart. We're also going to learn about the changes in blood pressure that occur as the blood moves away from the heart. If you haven't already watched the clip on slide 3 of the PowerPoint, please do so now. It will help you to recap the information about arteries and capillaries and veins that you should know from National 5. This diagram shows the 4 chambers of the heart. Blood from the body returns through the right atrium, is pumped into the right ventricle, and then is pumped out through the pulmonary artery to the lungs. In the lungs, the blood becomes oxygenated. It then returns to the heart through the left atrium, is pumped into the left ventricle, and then is pumped out through the aorta to the rest of the body. This diagram shows the surface of the heart. You can see on it the coronary arteries, and their function is to supply the heart muscle with blood and therefore glucose and oxygen. And you can also see the other major vessels associated with the heart. So you have got the superior vena cava, which returns blood from the head and arms to the right atrium, and the inferior vena cava, which returns blood from the trunk and the legs to the right atrium. We have the pulmonary artery leaving the heart, which divides into 2 branches, one going to each lung. And then we have the pulmonary veins, which return blood to the left atrium. Finally, the aorta is the body's main artery, and it leaves the left ventricle and takes blood through to the rest of the body. And you can even see up here some of the first branches of the aorta taking blood to the head and the arms. So in this diagram, we are going to look at the pathway of blood as it flows through the heart and the associated blood vessels. So blood enters the right atrium through the 2 vena cavae. The right atrium contracts and sends blood through the open valve into the right ventricle. And then the right ventricle contracts, sending blood out through this valve here into the pulmonary artery, which takes blood to the lungs. Deoxygenated blood enters through the pulmonary veins into the left atrium, and then the left atrium pumps and sends blood to the left ventricle, and the left ventricle pumps and sends blood out through the aorta to the rest of the body. You will notice there are also 4 valves in the heart, and the function of the valves is to prevent backflow of blood. And we'll talk more about these in the next key area. This diagram is almost like a map of the circulatory system. It shows that humans have a double circulation, with the right side of the heart sending blood out through the pulmonary arteries to the lungs. This is referred to as the pulmonary circulation. And the left side of the heart sends blood out through the aorta to the rest of the body, and this is referred to as the systemic circulation. As blood is forced out of the heart into the arteries, it is at high pressure, and the pressure of blood in the arteries fluctuates with the beating of the heart. As the heart contracts, the pressure is high. As the blood relaxes and fills up with blood, the pressure in the arteries falls. So you can see the line on this graph shows the mean pressure in the arteries, and you can see that as the blood gets further away from the heart in the arteries and moves towards the capillaries, the pressure drops quite significantly. The pressure decreases again as the blood moves through the capillaries to the veins, and then carries on decreasing further away from the heart until we get to the vena cava, where the blood pressure is almost 0. The different arteries and veins in the body are named depending on which organ or organ system they supply. So for example, the renal artery and vein serve the kidney, the hepatic artery and vein serve the liver, pulmonary artery and vein the lungs, and so on. The pulmonary artery is the only artery in the body to carry deoxygenated blood. So it is not true to say that all arteries carry oxygenated blood. What is true to say of all arteries is that they all carry blood away from the heart.